been many instances across the league and in Baltimore when a player has been designated with the franchise tag and signed a long-term deal that same year. We will continue to negotiate in good faith with Lamar, and we are hopeful that we can strike a long-term deal that is fair to both Lamar and the Ravens. All right. Did the Ravens make the right decision, Dog?
Absolutely did. He probably wants the Deshaun Watson money at $250 million guaranteed. You can't give him that. So let somebody else set the market. And then the Ravens can decide if A, they want to match, or B, take the 2 first-round picks. So this puts now the onus on Lamar and another team, and I know they're desperate for quarterbacks, although I guess Kimberly's going to tell us now there are a lot of teams who have been bailing out, Washington and Miami.
Let her tell her that, doggy.
What's that?
You always do that. You always try to sit up there and tell America what somebody else is going to say. Say your point. Don't tell us what Kimberly's going to say. She's there to tell us what she's going to say, doggy.
International Women's Day.
I mean, come on, doggy.
She's the reporter. I'm just the analyst. I'm the entertainer. She's the reporter. Kimberly's going to tell us what
entertainers is a loose term now.
Here is the bottom line, Stevie. Right. They made the right call. I wouldn't have given them $50 million a year for $250 million either. I wouldn't have done it. Let somebody else set the market, and then I'll decide how I want to handle it, because I still have exclusive. If I want, I can still make sure he's a Raven for next year. And if not, if I want to pass because the money's too much, he's not worth the Watson money anyway, I'll take the 2 number 1 picks. So I think Baltimore did the exact right thing as a franchise. They got to look at their long-term health. Baltimore is correct.
Kimberly?
Okay. The answer is yes and no. Here's why. For Baltimore, they look at it and say, we made competitive and fair offers to Lamar Jackson that he has said no to. Now, there have been other reports about $133 million. Go back to week 1. Lamar told our own Diana Rossini in week 1 against the Jets, after that game, that he had turned down 160, roughly around 160, 180. So the Baltimore Ravens feel like they have given fair offers. They feel like now, Lamar, it's on you. Go out and see what the market is for you. But here's why, and I understand the financial aspects of it, because even doing the non-exclusive, that's at 32. If you're going to do the exclusive, that's at 45. And you've got to figure out where you're going to find that money. Who are you going to cut? What contracts are you going to restructure? I get financially, if you're Baltimore, why you're doing this. But guys, I know that if my man says, hey, why don't you go see what else is out there? If he leaves the door open and says, you know what, see if you can find somebody better, I can tell you, like, you run the risk of losing me. And, doggy, you know, you do not want to lose me. And I feel like Lamar Jackson is one of those special difference makers. He's a generational talent. I understand he's 1-3 in playoff games. I understand that right now he didn't finish the season because of an injury. But when you look at the QB-needy teams, there are teams that are dying of thirst for a quarterback, and you tell me a guy like Lamar Jackson is out there, you run the risk. If this is your franchise guy, and you are quibbling about, I don't know if we want to give you guaranteed money, I don't know if we want to do that for you. Other guys in the locker room are looking at that saying, if that's how Lamar Jackson is treated, when it's my time for a contract, what's going to happen? I'm telling you, these streets are going to be real lonely if you don't have a Lamar Jackson. Just like Doggy, if you lose out on me, that I would feel bad for whoever wouldn't be with me. I really would.
It's a couple of things. Number one, I can jump back and hit myself looking at myself in this blazer and this tie. It's just like, wow. I just want to throw that out the way. That's number one. Number two, now that's where my mind was right there for a second, but I digress. Now let me get back to your point. Kimberley Martin, I understand the analogy. I appreciate the analogy. I understand exactly where you're coming from. I respect it. But to use your analogy, although I will openly confess that, of course, your man would not want to lose you, in the same breath, he could make the argument, do you want to lose him? Because if he made the statement to you, go out there and see what else available, it ain't him saying, oh, excuse me, I want to lose you. It's him saying, excuse me, I'm not chopped liver. I'm something worth it as well. I deserve to be treated that way as well. So we got to take that into consideration as well. It's two sides of that story that you just threw out there. I understand your point. You're right, just partially. Now let me get to Lamar Jackson specifically. Doggy, here's why I disagree with you. First of all, there's a lot of noise, particularly on a show that comes on before us, Get Up, which does obviously a great job. And Chris Canty showed out this morning. He was absolutely sensational on television. The bottom line is this, though. When we look at the non-exclusive franchise tag, it's built in collusion. We all know that most teams don't want to sign somebody to an office sheet that they know could just turn around and be matched, because that might send the wrong message and discombobulate what they're trying to build culture-wise. And so the reality of the situation is that the mere existence of that shows that it's a slim to no chance that you're going to get what you want as a player because of what it entails from an ownership perspective in terms of the kind of message it could potentially send. And most teams don't want to do that. Having said all of that, here's my thinking. If you are the Baltimore Ravens, first of all, I want to hear it from DeCosta. He needs to be quiet. He should be quiet. Let Ozzie Newsome do the talking, because this man and what's been going on within that organization over the last few months, whether it's J.K. Dobbins, whether it's Bateman, whether it's Lamar Jackson himself and his camp, and some of the messages that they've been sending, what Lamar Jackson tweeted out in terms of the state of his injury and what have you, shows they're simply not on the same page as DeCosta. He is not somebody that they trust. Ozzie Newsome needs to ingratiate himself back into the proceedings to make sure that he's a preeminent voice speaking on behalf of the Ravens organization, because he is not only respected, he is revered. And with that being said, when you look at Lamar Jackson, the bottom line is, the non-exclusive tag, you're basically saying he could go out there and get an offer, all right? And even though I just brought up the whole collusion possibility and what have you, in reality, the fact that you're saying go out there and see if you could get what you think you deserve, you're basically telling him, we don't think you deserve that. So you're basically letting him know that his value to himself doesn't match what you believe his value is. $250 million guaranteed. Just so you know, Doggy, you were out, and I got a call from Lamar Jackson's camp. They said under no circumstances did they make those demands. They understand that Deshaun Watson is an outlier. They understand that situation. But they do believe that they're worth more than the $133 million guaranteed, which was the last guaranteed offer the Baltimore Ravens made. Now, I don't know how true that is. Adam Schefter and others would be able to elaborate on that, and Kimberly as well. But I know what they said. And I don't think even you, Doggy, can argue with the fact that at $133 million guaranteed, when Kyler Murray is at $189.5 million guaranteed, when the last quarterback is usually the dude that sets the market to some degree, when you're nearly $60 million less in guaranteed dollars than a Kyler Murray, which is considered a reasonable contract, that in and of itself is insulting. To me, Lamar Jackson should be in a position where $200 million guaranteed. That's what the Baltimore Ravens should come to the table with based on what the market bears, and we should be able to call it a day. The fact that they're using this non-exclusive tag tells me they're nowhere near that, which is obviously insulting to Lamar Jackson, which is why I believe this is a mistake.
Well, Kimberly, you said that he told the folks
Week
after
one.
the Jet game it was about $160, $180 million that he was guaranteed. Well, that's not 133, Stevie. If in fact,
I'm just telling you what he said. Now, I don't know, or Doggy, I go with Kimberly. I'm just telling you what Lamar Jackson's camp told me. And I told Kimberly that. I told them that. But I'm saying that his camp said the last number of guaranteed dollars they were approached with was 133. And I'm saying if that is true, that is insulting. 180 is not as insulting. I think it should be 200, but 180 is not insulting.
That's the point I'm making. If, in fact, Kimberly's right, and Lamar said that after the Jet game in week one, it was about $160, $180 million. That's a whole heck of a lot better than $133 million. So I don't know I'm not sure what I should believe. But again, I'm going to play the negative guy because you know I'm not as high on him as all you other folks are, which I understand. I'm going to play it from that standpoint. He has not finished the last two seasons. Okay, the last two seasons, he got hurt last year, and they didn't make the playoffs. They lost to Pittsburgh last week of the season with Huntley at quarterback. And this year, he didn't play, the last 5-6 games? All right, so that's 2 years in a row he hasn't played. He's won one playoff game. I know people think that's not fair, no receivers, no this, no that. I get it. But the bottom line is he's won one playoff game. So the Ravens say, hold on now. I'm going to sit there and negotiate against myself? Why would I negotiate against myself? Whether it's collusion or not, we're not going to know that, and they're not going to sue to find that out. Let Lamar go out there. Let him get the 200 and whatever it might be that he wants guaranteed. And then the Ravens, if you ran the Ravens, would say, hey, you know what? If you can get it, then I have to make a decision of what I want to do. Plus, Stevie, be fair. The Ravens are a good franchise. They've won 2 Super Bowls. It's a great city. Newsom's he's a Hall of Fame. He's a Hall of Fame executive and a Hall of Fame player. That's a good team here.
We're not questioning Newsom. We're talking about DeCosta. We know what they've been. There's a legitimate question about what they are based on what players are saying about them compared to what players said about them in the past. They've never said anything, but they've been outspoken this year. There's something that's going on down in Baltimore right now that can't be ignored. That's all I'm saying.
Kimberly, I want to give you the final word here.
Yeah, so here's the situation. Lamar Jackson not having an agent has been a real important variable in this, because an agent will help you ascertain what your market value is. It's not what you think you're worth. And I have gone on record as saying I think Lamar Jackson deserves $230 million guaranteed. But you have to understand, with Deshaun Watson, the Browns had an owner in Jimmy Haslam who said, go out and get us this guy. That is who I want. Lamar Jackson has to understand whether there's another owner out there who feels like Lamar Jackson, that is who I want, and he's worth $230 or $231, whatever the case may be.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.